My name's Lou and I'm a leader in the customer space, so specifically across marketing, digital and CX. Former roles include leading the marketing and e-com teams at John Lewis. So I was at the brand for 20 years and I left last year in August. And most recently, I've been the Chief Customer Officer at M&Co. At the moment, I'm focusing very much on building my advisory board portfolio, and I'm currently on the board for 3 incredible companies, 2 MarTech and 1 recycling. I also work with brands and retailers to build out strong customer experience strategies for kind of future growth and advise on org design, etc. A few examples of what I'm up to. I'm also a massive advocate of building and contributing to communities across our industries, and I'm a regular keynote speaker, event chair and dinner host. So I love all that community stuff, so to speak. And then outside of work, I'm a committed and slightly better than average gym class attendee, I would say, and an equally committed but distinctly average tennis player, but professional tennis watcher. I'm also an aspiring adventurer, which basically means I like to travel, and a passionate foodie, which in theory just means I like to eat food. I think we've seen a huge power balance shift from product and brand world into consumer, probably for the last 5 years, I would say in particular. And whereas once organisations would try to attract customers to come to them through the power of brand advertising and offers, today's challenge very much is more around fitting the organisation into the customer's world and then demonstrating that relevance in a way that really resonates to customer groups. We love the word frictionless, don't we? It's kind of a buzzword in our industry when you apply it to any type of customer journey. But in effect, all we're really saying is that you need to position yourself in the customer world, understand them, and then being there for when they need you, but getting out of their way when they don't. It's pretty much in the digital world, applying that sales assistant intuition that you see in shops. You will know very well whether a customer wants to be approached and helped or not. The last thing you would do is then chase them around the shop if they didn't want the help. And it's starting to use our data to understand that in more depth online. So customers are increasingly seeking additional value in exchange for personalised relationships. So connected customers seek tailored engagements. They want exclusive shopping experiences, early access to products. In exchange, this gives brands the opportunity to take full control of that customer experience. So another buzzword we like to use is end-to-end customer experience. And that's a really internal term, because to a customer, they are just interacting with a brand. They don't, if you say, right, I'm a customer and I love shopping at Anthropologie, for example, you wouldn't say I like shopping on Anthropologie in their shop. You would just say Anthropologie and assume that the touch points was across every single, vertical or every single touch point for the customer. So I think that's really, really important to keep in mind. But also, it's so important to start collecting that data to further personalize the engagement, from products to marketing to commerce to service. So really understanding what's resonating with your customer. In order to stay relevant and valuable to customers, we have to position ourselves in the customer world. There's a really boring one, and I always say it, but it's ensuring your basics are strong. So ensuring your navigation's great, ensuring your content is, not only of quality, but it's either bite-sized content if you're going out on social channels, or it's longer form content if you're looking to build out your SEO strategies. Really getting that in place, but also relatable, reactive content that you're able to bring out quickly in order to keep the customer interested. Customer journeys, understanding that when you're collecting data points and where across the journeys, and then talking to customers regularly. So there's a saying that when you put something in front of a customer, be it a piece of data, a piece of content, product or a service, you can pull data on what you're putting in front of the customer. That's easy to do. What you can't use that data for is to inform what you're not putting in front of the customer. The only way to get to that is doing the old-fashioned connecting with them and talking with them. And I think a lot of brands have shied away from that over the last couple of years in favour of just using data. But it's not going to inform you of what you're not giving them, but also including customers in that broader, company strategy. People love to be involved in things, and you've seen some of the kind of the pure play fast fashion retailers over the last couple of years spending huge amounts of marketing dollars in the influencer and social space. And one of the areas that they focus on is bringing the consumer in to help support and build out assortments and products, so they will put out there, what do you think of this dress? And you'll get the community behind them going, yeah, it's really nice. I think I would change the sleeves or add pockets to it. And suddenly the consumer is completely invested in that product and brand because they've played a significant part in shaping that assortment and that service. And that's incredibly powerful. And that's where you start to get that value exchange. Because at the end of the day, people like to be involved in something. And if they feel like they've got buy-in and they've been brought along in the journey, that's hugely powerful for any brand. I mean, everyone is trying to monetize their user bases at the moment, aren't they? And needing to build out strategies and content for the future. I think it's really important for the CMO, CCO mindset that content is king. So this adds a different context to things. So brands need to think more like publishers. CMOs need a creative strategy, a digital strategy, a data strategy that all comes together under one customer strategy. It needs to be clear and coherent, really realistic, but underpinned with a simple message. And I often talk to brands and retailers about this, but really all it is, internally and externally, from a company culture and customer satisfaction perspective, it's being helpful. So it's as simple as that. So if you're helping the customer, if you are being helpful internally, then you are going to see those rewards back. And it's really that simple. I think we try and overcomplicate. But for me, there's kind of underneath that customer strategy, there's kind of 6 pillars of success. The first one is knowing your customer. So I mentioned earlier around the importance of listening and asking questions is just as crucial as pulling data and using that as data-led decision-making. The second one is thinking industry agnostic and seeking to understand the wider CX landscape. So if you look at all the disruptors that have been in many industries over the last couple of years, be it Airbnb on hospitality, Uber on transport, Amazon on retail, the list goes on and on. These guys have one thing in common, and that is they are making people's lives easier. And they're there for those key moments, and they're moving out the way when you don't need them. And so it doesn't matter if you're a retailer, you can learn huge amounts from what the guys over in Airbnb are doing, etc. So I think it's thinking more industry agnostic to steal ideas with pride. Sidestepping shiny distractions, so ruthless prioritization. There are 1,000,001 things in the industry at the moment that someone will tell you is the next big thing, but really making sure that if you are going to back some of these early entrants, that you make sure that it ladders up to your wider customer strategy. Building a content-focused community, so content is your lifeblood going forward. So people want to be a part of something, as we touched on earlier, but also making sure you've got that content backing up that you can continue to feed the hamster wheel is key across all channels now. Not to alienate your core. So again, it goes back to really understanding your customer. A lot of brands out there, feel that they should be positioned in another market or be attracting a different set of customers, when in reality, it's your core customer that's driving your sales. So how do you attract new customers without alienating your core? And then the final one that's on everyone's minds at the moment is, how do you find that human digital tipping point? How do you bring in AI to improve end-to-end, improve profitability, to improve speed of service, whilst also ensuring that you've got that human element, so that when people do want that interaction, you get that. I had a really good experience recently. I was in the States and I had to rebook my flights with American Airlines, and as soon as I realised that, I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to be on the phone for hours here, horrendous. And it was absolutely fantastic. They engaged me first with a chat bot. I got to a certain point where I then needed to speak to someone, and they stepped right in, and it actually surprised and delighted me, because I've heard nightmares that can sometimes go on in the airline industry. But just that understanding of when I was panicked and frustrated because my flight was about to leave and I was going to miss my connection. So they knew at that point, actually, a chatbot was not going to be any good. And so they rerouted me to a human, which was fantastic. So all credit to them on that one.